The Broncos are heading into their bye week in NFL Week 12, currently atop the AFC West and currently atop the NFL. But when it comes to the rest of the guys in the division, smell that? Smells like bitch in here. I play, I make jokes, but at the same time, it does feel good to be right now at the very, very tip top of the NFL. Broncos Country, welcome in to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Why is this important? Well, I believe, based off of what I'm going to tell you here about the Broncos making some big changes heading into the bye week, that they are getting healthy and making the right decisions at the right time. When you're currently number one in the entire NFL and have firm command of the number one seed, things tend to go your way, especially when it comes to the playoff outlook. Currently, like I said, at number one. And this is important because the Broncos are getting healthy at the perfect time to not only secure their place at the very top of the AFC West, but the number one overall seed in the AFC and maybe even the NFL. Now, I always say this, the Broncos want home field advantage. And that's not just because you get the advantage of the home crowd. But if you look at the statistics, the Denver Broncos are great at home. 6-0 at home this season. Never lost. LeVar Ball style. This is great news. So if there was ever a time to go into the bye week, get yourself right, get some key players back, that would be the time to do it. But like I told you, the title of this video is the Broncos must make major changes, or at least one major change, during the NFL bye week. What is that major change? The penalty cleanup. I know, Moose, you've talked a lot about penalties this season, and nothing changes. But for the first time, maybe all year long, I actually heard the Denver Broncos players talk about the penalties and what they plan on doing to fix it. Before we get into who said what, let's talk about what we know around the Denver Broncos penalty situation, because it's really bad. The Broncos racked up 10 penalties for 147 yards against the Chiefs, and they still won. And by the way, the Broncos are on a 7-game winning streak, 9-2, and they still have a penalty problem. So it wasn't just against the Chiefs. This isn't an outlier. It's not testing. It's not an anomaly. That's what we do know. Because the Broncos currently around the NFL, they are number one in a very bad statistic. Total penalties, 93. They've played 11 games. That's over 8 a game. Penalty yards, 883. That's first in the NFL. Not a good statistic. Pre-snap penalties, they're 8th in the NFL. And away penalties, so on the road, they are 7th with 40. So even more of a reason to want home field advantage. You are clearly seeing the Broncos have a penalty problem on the road and at home and in pre-snap. So you want the quietness of the crowd to eliminate the pre-snap penalties. You don't want the ruckus crowd. You don't want to have those momentum penalties like pass interference calls. But what you do want is to have that home field advantage so that you can minimize the mistakes as much as possible. And who on earth is the one that's talking about the Broncos' penalty problems? None other than Riley Moss. I will say this. Riley Moss has been one of the most penalized Broncos this entire season. It's not really that close. So if you look at where all the penalties are coming from, it's not necessarily an even split, offense and defense, but we can at least admit that Riley Moss gets picked on a lot, not only by the refs, but also by opposing wide receivers. And here's what he had to say about the penalty problem. In practice, it's going to be a big emphasis. We are going to put the boxing gloves on me. We're going to tape them up so there's no chance that I commit a penalty. It's a repetitive thing. People can have their opinion on it, but me as a professional athlete and as a professional corner, I need to be able to realize that, okay, this has happened now multiple times. It's good that he's acknowledging it. Listen, I will absolutely own up to the last one. He's talking about the one against the Chiefs, that last pass interference call. The underthrown ball. I can't be grabbing him like that. It's tough. It's already a tough position, and I have to be able in those situations to just play the ball. Yes, now we're talking. This is what I've wanted to see from the Broncos all season long. I've been wanting to see them take acknowledgement and say, hey, we're going to do something to fix it. And I said earlier on in the season, it starts at practice. Your practice habits will reflect how you play in the game. If you play hyper-aggressive and sloppy during practice, you're going to commit more penalties in the game. And like I said before the episode really started, the Broncos are getting healthy in the right spots, meaning the players that understand positioning and don't commit nearly as many penalties, they're going to be coming back as well. So that can also help out the penalty problem. Our color key, green, means you're most likely playing. Very optimistic, according to the Denver Broncos injury report. And yellow means maybe. So this could be for the Commanders game in Week 13. It looks like Pat Surtain's going to play, and the other three right now up in the air. Red would be they're not playing. So we have opportunities now to see really good players take foot onto the field and help out this penalty problem that the Denver Broncos have. If we see what we saw from the Broncos offense, like they played against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the defense continues to do its thing, the only problem surrounding the Denver Broncos are the penalties. And that's with the acknowledgement that if the offense shows up like it did against the Chiefs. But if both of those things happen, the only area that needs to be fixed is the penalty problem. So I'm going to ask you real quick before we continue on. Do you think the Denver Broncos can fix the penalty problem? I do. I do think they can fix it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have 1 to 2 penalties a game. But you can't have 8, 9, 10. Somewhere between 4 and 6. 5 is like that. I can live with it. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Now, coming up next, I'm going to make sure to let you know what the Broncos must do for the run game, the plan for the run game, and that starts with one player that found more rushing attempts as he found his way onto the field against the Kansas City Chiefs. Before we continue on, I got to tell you about our friends over at Harry's. Look, as literally the hairiest guy that you know, my back has current 5 o'clock shadow. I trust Harry's every single day with my personal grooming habits. That's no joke. I've got tons of different razor blades just chilling at my house waiting to be used. But if your old razor dulled way too fast, if it irritated your neck, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, if your old razor costs way too much, $30 for 8 refills, total scam. That's where Harry's Plus has advanced pivoting system technology to take care of your shaving needs. Every corner of your face completely covered with refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave and a weighted metal handle for added control and comfort. With Harry's Plus, you get a barbershop quality shave with German-engineered blades, each blade honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly at the root without tugging. Why would you pay $30 for refills when Harry's gives you better blades for a fraction of the cost? Harry's has launched their most advanced razor ever and is still cheaper than the Gillette Fusion 5. For a limited time, our listeners can get Harry's Plus trial set for only $10. Go to harrys.com/chat. That's harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming jade shell, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer. And after you purchase, they're going to say, hey, where'd you hear about us? Please support our show and tell the Moose from the Broncos Breakdown sent you. All of that in the comments and description of today's video. So Jaleel McLaughlin is the player that I believe needs to get a little bit more love this coming Week 13 matchup. And, of course, starts again during the bye week as you continue to make the changes without J.K. Dobbins. I listed Jaleel earlier this football season as a trade candidate. So I'm going to raise my hand, and I'm going to give you the scout's honor. I was very, very happy to see him in a role in last week's offense. And that's someone who's worn the badge of saying, I listed Jaleel McLaughlin as a non-factor in the offense. But up until the Kansas City game, he had 1 carry. So it's good to see that highlight reel Jaleel can find himself onto the field and maybe help bring the Broncos a little bit more success down the stretch of this football season. And the reason I say the running game more specifically is because you had 21 carries for 59 yards. That's 2.8 yards a carry. It's clear the presence on the field without J.K. Dobbins was felt. That doesn't mean the season is lost. That doesn't mean the run game can't succeed. What it does mean is that you have to pivot and find a way to supplant what J.K. Dobbins was giving you. Here's one of the main areas that I feel like hurt the Broncos against the Chiefs specifically. And I know the Chiefs have a pretty good defensive line. The Denver Broncos averaged only 1.6 yards after contact versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now think about that. After every single time one of the Chiefs defenders made contact with one of our ball carriers, they averaged 1.6 yards after that initial contact. That's not nearly good enough. And I can promise you one of the hallmarks of having a deep playoff contending team is the ability to run the football. The weather's only getting colder, guys. Being able to throw the ball in 10-degree weather isn't nearly as glamorous as it sounds. So the current playoff situation, let's just say the playoffs started today, right now at this very moment. The Denver Broncos, Patriots, Colts, Steelers, Bills, Chargers, Jaguars are all in. And this is, by the way, in order. So right now the Broncos would be on a bye, but I also want to at least let you know that the Broncos, when it comes to rushing yards per game, while they're not last, they're not first. So like I told you, one of the hallmarks of a good playoff team is the ability to run the football. The Bills, the Colts, the Jaguars, all three of those have better rushing offenses than you do right now. The only ones that are worse, the Steelers, who are one of the worst in the NFL, the Patriots, and the Chargers. Well, I can tell you this, the Chargers, they lost both of their running backs. So next year, you can expect their running game to completely change. So right now, the only rushing offenses that you're better than, if I'm eliminating the Chargers, Patriots and Steelers. The Broncos need to focus on more power running schemes. This is the solution. So J.K. Dobbins was that player that had the patience, the wherewithal. He had the field vision and kind of the talent to just kind of pick and choose his holes and then exploit them. I don't think anybody currently in the Broncos running room on this running back depth chart has the same sort of talent at this point as J.K. Dobbins does. But what they do have is a healthy body. R.J. Harvey excels really well in the east to west running game. Lots of pitches to the outside. He's great also with the ball in his hands. So his ability to catch the ball is also great. Tyler Bidet, Jaleel McLaughlin, they can both help as well. But we also saw that there were no explosive running plays against the Chiefs. I'm sure Sean Payton is watching the tape. I'm sure he's watching it back with the offense. And I'm sure he's saying, we have to adjust. Otherwise, we will not, scratch that. I'll pivot from that. We'll meet an immovable object at one point. That's a better way of saying that, because you will be going up against some of the best defensive fronts in the NFL. Who's one of them? The Patriots. The Patriots have one of the best run-stopping defenses in the entire league. So you're going to have to figure out how to run the football. You can't do what the Raiders did last night on Monday Night Football and run it 12 times and expect to be successful. It's not going to happen. So what seed, by the way, as we pivot off that, will the Denver Broncos get in the playoffs? Right now, I'm saying they're going to be the 1 seed. Just because I love the way I saw them play against the Chiefs. I think this defense is going to carry. But things need to be tweaked, fine-tuned in order for them to make the big one. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for us in this episode. A reminder to hit that subscribe button, like today's video. And as always, mile high salute. Be cool.